It was 2008, 5 years I was here, 2008 to 2013. God radically changed my life right here in Kingdom City while I was a student in Sunway University. And I remember when I was done, went back to my country. 9 months later, God started speaking into my heart, recognizing and seeing the needs in my nation. He started speaking to my heart like, what you saw God do in Malaysia, I want to do in this nation. And with shaky hands, I remember emailing our senior leader, Pastor Mark, saying, hey, Pastor Mark, you and Pastor Jemima used to prophesy. You used to speak upon us as the students. You said wherever God will send us back, to our home countries, God is going to move, and I feel it is the time. And I love our senior leaders. He responded back. On top, the words was like, Botswana is going to happen. And then he said these words, by the way, Matthews, for the first time in my life, I've never been in Africa, but for the first time in my life, I've been invited to come and preach in Cape Town, South Africa. When I saw those words, I was like, I don't need any confirmation. God is already in the move. Are you hearing what I'm saying? But just to let you know, the only leadership that I had, leadership experience I had, was leading a connect that didn't even grow to 5 people. I met with Pastor Mark in Cape Town. By the way, from Gaborone to Cape Town, from Gaborone to Cape Town, I took a 26 hours bus. Went there, met with Pastor Mark for 2 hours. We had coffee, and it was in that coffee where he said, you know what? Let's do it. I love Pastor Mark, I love Pastor Jemima because they represent the heart of God. They can see even things that you don't see. That's the heart of God. They can see potential even when you don't see potential. And I believe that's the heart of God. That when we bring our not enough to Him, He becomes the catalyst. He takes our not enough and He uses it to do greater things. Because He's the God who is able to take what is insufficient and transform it into something miraculous. That's my story. And that's what I want to share with you right here in the room and everybody who is watching online. Can we go to Matthew chapter 14, verse 14 to 21? Are you ready? I'm reading from the NIV. When Jesus landed and saw a large crowd, He had compassion on them and healed their sick. As evening approached, the disciples came to Him and said, this is a remote place and it's already getting late. Send the crowds away so they can go to the villages and buy themselves some food. Jesus replied, they do not need to go away. Can you say to your neighbor, they do not need to go away. You give them something to eat. So verse 17 says, this is the disciples' answer. They're saying, we have here only 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. Bring them here to me, Jesus said. And He directed the people to sit down on the grass. And taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish and looking up to heaven, He gave thanks and broke the loaves. Then He gave them to the disciples, and the disciples gave them to the people. They all ate and were satisfied. And the disciple picked up 12 baskets of broken pieces that were left over. The number of those who ate was about 5,000 men, besides women and children. Thus ended the reading of the word. I want to speak to you this morning from the title, Revival in the Not Enough. Come on, say it to your neighbor. Revival in the Not Enough. I want you to imagine yourself and put yourself in the disciples' feet this morning. That you have had the all day with Jesus. You saw His compassion. He's healing. He's touching lives of people. He's changing lives of people. You witness miracles as He teaches, deliverance. The move of God is happening. But right there is this huge crowd of people. And the Bible says the time was getting late. Not only that, this was a remote place and it was getting late. And you look at the resources you have it's just 5 loaves and 2 fish. And you know it's impossible for you to feed these people with just 5 loaves and 2 fish. The question I have for you is, what do you do in such a situation? Have you ever felt like you don't have enough to offer? Whether it's to do with time, it's to do with money, it's to do with your skills, it's to do with your strength. Because in life, we face moments when we feel like our best isn't just enough. But let me tell you, those are the moments that God uses to come through in our lives. The Bible says that it was 5,000 people who were present. And it was only counting men. Bible scholars, they say if you counted, women and children, it's estimated to about 10,000 to 20,000. So logically, the disciples, they assessed the situation. They felt the weight of the problem. And they suggested that, you know what, the best thing to do right now, the solution to do right now is to send these people away. How many of us know that this is how us as human beings operate sometimes? Instead of listening to Jesus speaking to us and giving us the direction, we go to Jesus with the direction and we want him to go according to our logic. But where we started, the Bible did not say the disciples had compassion. It says Jesus is the one who had compassion. So, in verse 16, Jesus replied to them, they do not need to go away. You give them something to eat. And they said to him, we have here only 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. But the next answer is what shocked them, because he said, you know what? Bring them here to me. Bring the 5 loaves and 2 fish to me. I can imagine in that moment Peter thinking like, like Jesus, do you realize what we have here? It's just 5 loaves and 2 fish. Look at this crowd, la. This is so not enough, la. If you're watching online, I'm trying to do the Malaysian accent. I don't know if it's good. This is the heart of the message. Jesus is saying, if you think you don't have enough, I need you to take your not enough and bring it to me. I don't need you to keep or hide your not enough. Everything that you have, when I'm asking you or I'm giving you an assignment and you look at what you have and it looks like what you have is not enough compared to the assignment, don't keep what you have. He's saying, bring it to me. I have a question to you this awesome morning, right here in the room and you watching online there. What is it that God has placed in your heart? Maybe it's a dream. Maybe it's a vision. Maybe it's a plan. Maybe it's a call. Maybe it's a purpose. Maybe it's an assignment. And like the disciples, you have calculated time. In fact, I feel there's some people here, God has placed, something in your life. But you are looking at your life like, I'm old, la. Not enough time, la. But you have calculated the factors and you are saying you are about to send away the call and the purpose. I'm here to say, you do not need to send anything away. Bring what you have to Jesus. Bring it the way it is to Jesus. Oh, bring it to Jesus. Now here's the challenge. The challenge is that we as people, we get paralyzed when we feel like we don't have enough. We get stuck. We don't even move. And we live in this generation. We are so much addicted to perfection. You take 1,000 photos and you only pick one and you still edit it and then you post it. We are so much addicted to perfection. But Jesus doesn't need perfection or an abundance or resources to start something. Let me tell you, he is abundance himself. When he said do something, there is already an answer in his invitation. I'm speaking to somebody even right now listening to me. You're saying, oh, Matthews, I'm unqualified. Matthews, I'm not good enough. Matthews, I'm not smart enough. But 1 Corinthians chapter 1 verse 27-28 is the answer to you. He said, instead, God chooses things the world considers foolish in order to shame those who think they are wise. And he chooses things that are powerless to shame those who are powerful. God chooses things despised by the world, things counted as nothing. Have you ever been counted as nothing? This is speaking to you. And he uses them to bring to nothing what the world considers important. This is the game changer, church. That our God can take somebody, can take a nobody, and he can use it to do something. Let me tell you, you don't need to be qualified. God calls the unqualified and he qualifies them. His invitation carries qualification. Why? Because his invitation is not about our qualification. It's about our trust in him. It's about surrendering the small, inadequate parts of our lives and allowing him to walk through them. And he invites us to surrender what we have, not because it's sufficient on its own, but because he is sufficient. He is God who is able to do over and above. Say to your neighbor, bring your not enough to Jesus. Come on, watching online, say it to your screen or whoever next to you. Bring your not enough to Jesus. Bring your not enough to Jesus. Whether it's to do with money, time, whatever, bring your not enough to Jesus. The mistake we make is that we always think like, if I have enough, if I've done, qualification and all of that. I know people whose qualification has become a hindrance for them. But let me tell you, there's something about a person who says, the way I am, I trust God. Because when God comes upon your life, there is nothing that people can say. All they will see is, this is the hand of God. All glory will go to him. I learned in my life that the very place where you feel most lacking is often where God chooses to unleash his greatest breakthrough. Our God specializes in using what seems inadequate to accomplish his purpose. And that's something that I've realized, that every time when you're about to start something, be it an assignment, be it a call, be it a purpose that God is putting in front of you, most of the times you will feel limited at the beginning. You'll feel misunderstood. You'll feel undermined. And sometimes even those around you, you won't feel their support. Not everyone will understand the vision that you carry. The funds may be lacking. And you may even be feeling insecure. But it is in those moments that Jesus is saying, bring your not enough to me. I look back and the humility, I carry this with humility every time I look back what God has done in Botswana. And I always look back and say, God, if I was Pastor Mark, I'm not sure if I would have chosen me. Based on where I was at, I wouldn't have chosen me. That was where I was at in 2015. No qualifications. No theology degree, no church leadership background. And let me tell you, in Africa, these things, they are regarded. If you come in, there is no big title of bishop, whatever. Nobody look at you. In a culture where, for example, like I was not even married. At 27, I was not married. I was single. They will ask, okay, now we get it, but who is your dad? Like, is your father a pastor or an archbishop? Oh, no, it's just me. And you watch them looking, at your feet down like, oh, okay, God bless you. All I have was little faith and a simple yes to God. And a simple yes and trust. When Pastor Mark said, you go, I was like, God, what I saw in Malaysia, God, in this yes, I'm going to believe that it's going to come. Let me tell you, Malaysia, what you carry inside this place is huge. God is using this room to feed the nations, to change lives of people. And with faith, I brought my 5 loaves and 2 fish to God. And what I learned is that what you surrender to Jesus, no matter how insignificant it seems, it becomes the seed that unlocks supernatural provision and breakthrough. Can I say this to you? It's your yes to God that opens the door for breakthrough. It's your yes to God that opens the door for breakthrough. As people, we can be so much caught up in our ability, like, oh, I'm not able. But when God sees your willingness, He is more than able to override your lack of ability. Are you hearing what I'm saying? Isaiah 1:19 says, if you are willing and obedient, you shall eat the good of the land. If you are willing and obedient, that's simply what God is looking for. By the way, listen, please, I'm not saying don't use wisdom. But what I'm saying is that in those moments when you and I feel deficient, when what we want to do seems so much bigger than what we have in our hands, when you feel like you don't have enough, when you feel unqualified, when you feel like there are still issues in your life, but God is speaking to you about something, that's when it's truly powerful for you to bring your not enough to Jesus. Don't hold it back. Give it to Jesus. I'm still a 5 loaf and 2 fish. Because the things that God speaks, when I look at them like, God, what's next? And He's saying 10,000. I'm like, God, I'm still giving you the 5 loaves and 2 fish. I don't know how it's going to look like. And Malaysia, let me tell you, Kuala Lumpur, 20,000 is on the way. 20,000 is on the way. 20,000 is on the way. And our job is to surrender and keep bringing to Him our not enough. There is a miracle in the not enough. There is purpose hidden in the not enough. There is a call hidden in the not enough. Oh, I sense an invitation from God that in this season He's looking for not enoughs to turn around. Do I have people in this room who are saying, I am in that list? Oh, come on, give Him your loudest shout of praise. I said, give Him a loudest shout of praise. He's about to turn things around. Eyes have not seen, ears have not seen what God is about to do through your life. Are you hearing what I'm saying? It's bigger than you can imagine. But listen and catch this flow. Because in Matthew 14:18-19, I love these words. He says, after He said, bring them here to me. The next thing, He directed the people to sit down on the grass. Now here is the point. Positioning always precedes provision. Majority of the time, when God is calling you there, you want to receive what the provision of there while you are still standing here. But what happens? You move to where He's calling you to, and provision will find you there. Breakthrough begins with positioning. When you say yes to God, He backs up your yes. What you think you're waiting for is often waiting for you at the place of where God is calling you to. Don't hesitate, take a step. Because your positioning will unlock provision and right people. I look back, from the 10 years, I'm shocked when I look at the provision that God has released. One of them, I remember in 2017, I felt like, I was hitting a ceiling like, God, okay, I'm trying everything. But God, I know what you want to do in this nation is bigger. And in that time, I remember like we had Pastor Blake here and coming to Botswana. And in that meeting, I remember he was like, I feel God is calling me to this nation. I was like, hello? He was like, I feel God is, you mean in Botswana or just traveling? It's like, no, I feel. And I was like, God, this can only be you. To take such a provision, to take such a resources and put it in this place. Let me tell you, when you position yourself, He will bring the right people, the right resources where you are at. What you are waiting for is waiting for you to move. What you are waiting for is waiting for you to take a step. And this is what amazed me. Every time you take a step and position. I've met people, different season in the 10 years of Kingdomcity in Botswana, saying, you know what, Matthews, I feel like I'm called to this place. And I was like, wait, God, are you saying that when we say yes to what we feel you are talking to us and we position ourselves to it, we are unlocking even what is for another person. So when you don't move, you are also affecting another person whose purpose is connect. It's not all about you. When you don't position yourself, you hinder the flow of God. You move. This is the word. You move and everything will flow. You move and everything will flow. When you stop moving, you cut the flow. When you stop moving, you cut the flow. When you say no to starting a connect in that place, you cut the flow. The next campus leader is in that connect that God is speaking to you about saying yes to. The next move is about you saying yes to Greenhouse, because your wholeness carries the breakthrough of your family. Oh, a generation being transformed. It's not about you. When you move, you release the flow. And in verse 19, say, taking the 5 loaves, the 2 fish, and looking up to heaven, he gave thanks. Family, this is the big one. Jesus is giving thanks to what is deemed not enough. He is giving thanks to the 5 loaves and 2 fish that in our eyes they cannot feed the 5,000 or the 20,000. And I'm here to say to you, in order to see the flow of God, it's time we stop complaining. It's time we stop comparing. It's time you stop complaining. It's time you stop comparing. Be thankful with what you have. What I've learned is that gratitude is the language of faith. Gratitude attracts God's attention for a miracle. When you are grateful, you are saying, God, I don't look at what I have now as the source for my life. I give you thanks for what I have today. And that attracts God to say, you know what, I'm going to provide. Listen, the Bible says this, in Jeremiah 32:27, behold, I'm the God of all flesh. Now, is there anything too hard for me? When you are grateful, you move the heart of God. You attract breakthroughs. It opens a door for multiplication. Gratitude is not just a polite response. It's a declaration that, God, I trust you to take care of what is at hand. I trust you to do the impossible. I trust you to do what has never been done before. I'm the first generation pastor in my family. Nobody has done this. You talk about witch doctors, that lineage is there. But when you say yes, when you say yes to God, you break what the enemy has tried to do for many years. You release a new generation. You release fresh breakthroughs. It's going to start with you. When you say yes, you release a fresh flow upon your family, upon your business, upon all the lives of people that are connected to you. I say, God, I might be the first one, but my children and my children's children, they will live a life that is beyond what we have seen before. We will not hold back our yes. We will not hold back our yes. What we think is not enough is a seed in God's hand, ready to multiply. Oh, don't sit on the multiplication. Give what is on your hands. Kuala Lumpur, oh, I see campuses. My God, I see campuses. Not 2, not 3, not 4. I see campuses. You are sitting there. You don't realize what God has upon your life. He's bigger than you can imagine. He's bigger than you can imagine. Talking to Pastor Jem. Pastor Paul, moving to Subang, it's not going to be just 3 services. It can't be 3 services. It can't be 3 services. You are believing for 10,000, but God is saying 20,000. God is saying 20,000. God is saying, come on Malaysia, 20,000, 20,000. God is saying, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. 20,000 is coming. 20,000 is coming. Hey. So, he directed them to sit down. I feel the flow of something breaking in this place. Oh. So, he directed them to sit down. They positioned themselves. He gave thanks. And then after giving thanks, the same 5 loaves and 2 fish, he passed them to the hands of the disciples. Let me ask you the question. Did multiplication happen in the hands of Jesus or in the hands of the disciples? In the hands of the disciples. Why? Because when your not enough has passed through the hands of Jesus, it becomes a catalyst. It becomes multiplication. It becomes catalyst for breakthrough. It becomes breakthrough. Whoa! That is the shift that is happening. That is the shift that is happening. That is breakthrough. Nothing is impossible.